Becoming a runner is actually much simpler and easier than you think. Most beginner runners try to run too far, too fast, too soon, and in this video I'm going to lay down the step-by-step progression that I would take anyone through to help them enjoy running. Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Michael with Valiant Physical Therapy, where we specialize in working with runners here in Evanston, Illinois. In this video, I'm going to explain a step-by-step process to get into running. This video is for the beginner. This video is for the person who wouldn't yet call themselves a runner, or maybe they're getting into running and they're not really sure how to progress, where to start, how to progress, or where to take it from wherever they are. So the first level that I would start anybody out at, if they can't do this already, is to walk for 30 minutes, okay? Now, I can already hear people scoffing at this first one because this is almost too basic to even consider when you're thinking about getting into running. But if you can't walk for 30 minutes, you have no business being able to run. Okay, this may be a little bit controversial, but there are a ton of people who get into running because they want to lose weight, but they can't even necessarily do this yet, or they're too heavy to begin with, and the impact of running would likely be too much for them anyway. So walking is kind of a good place to start. I'm assuming that most of the people watching this can already walk for 30 minutes, so I'm going to move right along to number 2, but that would be my first one. Just get walking. So the second level that I would say for somebody who is getting into running is arguably the most important one. So let's say that you can walk for 30 minutes and you really don't have any confidence in your ability to run. The second thing I would work on is start doing some sort of run walk intervals. Okay, and I put some space there intentionally because you can really change the ratio with running and walking in a way that's really gradual and also advantageous for you. So let's say the run walk ratio, we have 1 minute. Okay, these numbers that I'm going to be writing here are minutes. Okay, so you run for 1 minute and then let's say you walk for 4 minutes. Okay, this gets you a really solid 5-minute block that you can then update the ratio on over time. For example, let's say you run 1, walk 4. You can progress that very simply to run 2, walk 3. Okay, so you're progressively doing more running, a little bit less walking. Okay, another level you can progress to would be something like run 3, walk 2. Okay, so now you're doing more running than walking, okay, but you still have those walk intervals interspersed there. And we can really go kind of crazy and be very customized with run-walk intervals, okay? I know some people that are doing 2-2, 3-3, some people that are doing 9-1. Okay, they're doing 9 minutes of running and then 1 minute of walking. But for a lot of people watching this, 3-2 might actually be a pretty good split because you're running for 3 minutes, which is likely challenging. And then you give yourself a little bit of a break, but it's not so much break that you totally lose momentum. And the one that I really like to get people worked up to, especially after they get injured, is 4 minutes of running, 1 minute of walking. Okay, so we have a little bit of walking at the end of that, and then they have 4 minutes of running. And really what we can do with this is we can keep this 1 minute of walking and we can just slowly start to add minutes of running all the way up to 9-1, like I was mentioning before, where this is 1-1-1-1-1. Okay, so we keep the 1 minute of walking, but we're just progressively doing more and more running. And then once we get to 9-1, you probably don't need to be doing that walking if you want to get, to the next level. Just start running. Okay, so some sort of a run-walk interval is really helpful as your second step. So far, we can walk for 30 minutes. We're doing a run-walk, and we're going based on minutes. Okay, what I typically like to do with people that are doing run-walk intervals is I'll keep this 30-minute block of time consistent. So they'll walk for 30 minutes, then they'll work up to doing a run-walk, and they'll do some ratio for 30 minutes. And then when I get people doing continuous running, I'll usually just keep the amount of time on feet the same, and they'll do continuous running for 30 minutes or so, okay? So once you no longer need those walk breaks, you're gonna go for the continuous run based on time first. Don't necessarily go based on distance. See if you can calculate how much time it's taking you to run and what's kind of a good time for you, and stay there. I like 30 minutes. Now that we're continuously running, we can start to work on some of the more performative or skill-based components of running, okay? And one of the first things that I like, and this is number 4, is running at a conversational pace. Now, this is where running can really get fun because you can start to run with a buddy. You can start to go on a run with somebody, all right? And you can talk while you're running, okay? Talking while you're running is a really good place to get to. Talking while running is also a very unique modulator of effort, because if you're running too fast, trying to talk while you run will force you to slow down because you can't keep the conversation going or you can't get the words out. So some people who get to this continuous running phase will be totally out of breath by the time they finish their run. Their heart rate's really elevated. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. They're breathing really heavy, and it is difficult for them to continuously run, okay? So once you get to the point where you are at a conversational pace, now we can start picking some goals, okay? Now, goal selection in running is actually extremely important. And sometimes people can set themselves up for failure by selecting the wrong goals. So for me, a goal category or style that I really like is a completion goal. So we're gonna pick a completion goal, okay? So what does a completion goal mean, and what am I completing, okay? I'm talking about 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, okay? If you're watching this video, I don't even want you to be thinking about a marathon right now. Maybe you have dreams of doing one, but this goal does not apply to marathons. Marathons are a totally different category, and I would want you to pick a smaller goal before reaching for one of those larger goals. Even if you're in good shape and you're able to do a half marathon, if you've never actually done a half marathon before, do that first before you think about doing a marathon. Maybe you don't necessarily need to start with a 5K if you're already feeling pretty good about a 10K, but if you haven't done a half marathon before, I would say don't even worry about doing a marathon, okay? So pick a completion goal. For a lot of people watching this, this is gonna be that local 5K, all right? Can you run that local 5K continuously? Or do you have to walk, okay? There's many different ways that you can kind of mix and match this, but picking a goal that is based on completion, okay? Completion is an important word there, all right? Don't worry about what speed you're running at. Don't worry about completing it in a particular time. Don't worry about how you rank in your age group or none of that stuff or what your friends are doing. Just finish it. Just try to finish the goal. Once you finish the distance, then we can start to really get complicated where we talk about some performance goals. So if I go number 6 here, okay, time or speed goal, right? So what I want to hammer home in this video is that this is a very straightforward progression for how someone can improve the level of running from wherever they currently are at, okay? So let's say you can't even walk for 30 minutes. Don't worry about any of this stuff down here. Don't worry about any of this stuff down here, okay? Just focus on being able to walk for 30 minutes. But let's say that you're actually able to run continuously already. You're watching this video and you're like, all right, dude, well, I'm already able to run continuously. I can already run like pretty close to a 5K, and I don't need to stop. I don't need to take these walk breaks. I don't need any of this run walking. So how easy is it for you to run that distance that you're currently at? Are you able to talk while you're running? Because you should be able to run it at a pace that's pretty comfortable cardiovascularly. And then we can start to talk about, all right, well, maybe we should sign up for a 5K. But you know, these goals are actually kind of related. You can pick a 5K and work on your conversational pace. You can pick a 5K and work on improving your continuous running. The Evanston Running Club does a great job with their 0 to 5K program, where they get people who are on some sort of a run-walk interval all the way to the point where they can complete a 5K in a matter of weeks. So those programs do exist. But this is kind of the general progression, okay? Can you run continuously? Can you talk while you're running? And then when we start talking about picking a completion goal, I want you to forget about the marathon. Think about 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons as your completion goal. Just try to finish it. And then once you have a time for the race or for the distance, then I think you can start to talk about a time goal. That's the basic progression from a training standpoint. There's a couple key details that I want to talk about that can often help this go even better. Okay, and the first thing is going to be get yourself a comfortable pair of running shoes. Getting a comfortable pair of running shoes can be really helpful if you're new, because when people are brand new and they haven't quite made any financial investment in their ability to run, they're just going to run in whatever shoes that they have. Okay, and sometimes those shoes aren't necessarily suited for the activity of running. So getting yourself a comfortable pair of running shoes can be very helpful once you find out, like, hey, as I'm doing this more, my feet are getting a little bit sore, maybe my knees are a little bit sore. Is there something about the shoes that maybe can take away some of the discomfort that I'm having? When you're thinking about which pair of shoes would be right for you, just try them out in the store, run on the treadmill, see what you like. Just go based on feel, okay? There's a lot of different models. There's a lot of different options. You can get really overwhelmed with all the different minutia between brands and between shoe models. Just make sure that whatever you're buying are comfortable, okay? The next thing would be don't run on back-to-back days when you're starting. When especially you're in this run-walk stage, or even once you get to continuous running on a Tuesday, Wednesday will be pretty hard on the body, okay? Especially on that Wednesday. But you should do something like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Monday, Thursday, Saturday, okay? Keeping space in between your run days can be really helpful so that you can recover from your run. The analogy I would use here is if you got into weightlifting, you wouldn't train legs 3 or 4 days in a row. You would maybe even just do legs once a week, okay? But you wouldn't do them on back-to-back days because your legs would be sore, okay? So don't plan to run on back-to-back days when you're getting into running. Space it out, okay? And then the last tip that I have for you, which is arguably my most important form tip that I recommend to everybody, is run with short, quick steps. When I talk to everybody about how to run, this is the tip that I give everybody, all right? Run with short, quick steps. Don't take long, slow, reachy strides. You want to take short, quick steps as you're running, okay? Don't reach super far in front of you. Try to land with your foot kind of close to you and in some ways underneath you, all right? And make them kind of quick. This doesn't mean run faster, which is a common thing that people will try to do when they hear this advice. They think run with short, quick steps. Okay, well, I'm just going to do that. And then they end up running faster because they're really doing the same thing, just quicker, because I said quicker. But the real trick word here is short. We're trying to take shorter steps. If you're running with short, quick steps and your pace stays pretty much the same, and maybe it feels like you're even working a little bit harder because you're taking more steps, then you're probably doing it right. It should feel weird, okay? It should feel different to run with short, quick steps. But we don't want to be taking these long, reachy strides, okay? So this is a pretty basic layout for how someone can go from walking 30 minutes to picking a time goal. You can kind of mix and match these levels, but in some ways it's a good idea to go straight through in order. And then if you're somewhere in the middle, you should be able to see what the future holds for you or where you can progress. And then here are some of my top 3 tips for people getting into running. So if you found this video helpful, share it with a friend, maybe somebody else that you know is getting into running and they might find this video helpful. I made it for you guys. So send it over and spread the good word. Thanks for watching.